Well, welcome to another Tuesday Live. This is Keith. Please say hi in the chat if you have joined me here. I see that there's lots of people on views. There's 7 views, and I see a couple people in the chat. We'll say hi here in a minute. I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios, and it's great to be live, and it's great to be alive. So thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully it looks good. It sounds good. The lips are in sync. I do have my lapel mic on. You can see the little magnet, and that is the DJI mic kit. And so if you don't know anything about this, I do have a video here on the channel. But again, it's a great tool, has 2 microphones. I only have one on, but great for interviews. And I have it plugged in to channel 2 in the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO tonight. So if I want to move around and get away from this microphone, I can do that. I've set 3 frames of delay on both of those microphones, so it should be good. So let me know tonight in the chat. We also had Skycam on tonight, so it looks like that. You can see the Skycam, and I can send it to different places in the room, and so that's kind of fun to have on, and we'll turn that off here in just a second, but give you just a little behind the scenes view of that. Let me see if I can hit that last location. And so we will turn Skycam off the air and turn chat on the air and make that transition. So let's say hi. I want to say thank you so much for just some of the nice comments I've been getting on the channel. A lot of times we don't talk about that much on live streams. At least I don't hear some of the other people that I listen to talk about it that much. But even though videos aren't live anymore, I end up connecting with a lot of the people that I like on social media after they're live. I don't know if I just don't get the alerts or I'm busy or whatever it is. And so occasionally I remember to comment. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I've been getting a lot of nice comments after we've been live. So it's not in the chat, but it is on the video post later. So I appreciate that. And thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. And it is growing, and got more videos coming out later this week on the Stream Deck. That ought to be a lot of fun. And got a trip coming up. So let me hit record and we will get started here tonight. So let me say hi in the chat. So let's go up here, and Hank is here. Thank you so much for joining me, Hank. You were first, so you get first place. So it's good to have you. And yeah, this is a good video. Hank said he checked out the video where Tony from Quick Tech Solutions, myself, and Adam Tao were all together in a live stream. Adam hosted that, and Tony and I got to join him. I had Adam Tao here on the channel. So if you go back through my live streams or you go into the Mix Effect playlist, there's a couple interviews there with him. And so Adam is the guy who designed Mix Effect, and many of us use that tool. I use it for macros. I also use it for SuperSource. I love it. I am planning a video to spend more time in Mix Effects Live, but we have a big agenda tonight that I want to get to, and lots of different buttons I'll be pushing tonight. So hopefully you guys will sit back and enjoy the show. I do want to say I have chat only, or subscribe only chat enabled. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Then you can join us in the chat. And about 1 minute after you subscribe, you can start chatting. I just do that so it stops some of the spam that came in prior to me using that feature. And again, you can set it for a minute. You can set it for more. I just want people to know that they're welcome to chat. Just pop in the live show, subscribe, and then if you don't like what you're hearing, you don't like the channel, then unsubscribe. I'm perfectly fine with that. That'll just cut back some of the other stuff that can take place. Good to see you, Joe, and thank you for joining me from Blue Iris, or Learn Blue Iris's new channel. We have TVJ here. Hello, TVJ. TVJ also has a channel, and he's been going live and quite interesting. Joe's got his channel fired up, and I saw, Joe, you had like a little over 350 subscribers. I subscribed to your channel last week. Had some nice comments. Good to see you, DJ Ware. Had some nice comments from DJ Ware. Actually reached out to me through my channel. Even let me know when he wasn't going to be able to be in a live stream. That means a lot. So I appreciate that. And then Tony, we were just talking about you. Hank saw our video with Adam Tao earlier, I believe today, he said, and that's really cool. And that was a lot of fun. That's obviously a lot of Mix Effects updates ago. He has done updates a number of times. He added HyperDeck features. He's even written a couple shortcuts that you can use on your smart device to do things that you can't do through Mix Effects or you can't do through the control software. One of those is switching between teleprompter and video on your HyperDeck Shuttle HD if you have one. It's very difficult to go through there. I'll kind of show you guys that tonight on the screen because we are going to be using the HD Shuttle as we go through the garage tonight. And though I'm not going to be in the garage, and I'll explain that here in a little bit, I do have some video footage, even a peek up into the attic, and I'll talk about a couple of the projects I have to do before I start building any walls, and so we'll do that as well. So again, hi to everyone. Let's keep going here. We have Bill in the house. It's good to have you, Bill, as always. I don't know if we've talked a lot, Bill, about what you do and your world. So maybe just give us a shout out tonight and let us know a little bit about yourself, just for those of us that need to catch up. We've got Forced Online here. Doug, it's great to see you as well. Looks like the audio is working good. Thank you guys for letting me know that. And let's see, Noel, it's good to have you here from Puerto Rico. Welcome. That's awesome. It is just amazing to have people from around the world. That's one part of this that I just absolutely love. And he's saying hi around there to Tony. Let's see. Jay's listening while he's grocery shopping. We are getting a snowstorm tomorrow, and they canceled our pickup order. Well, man, welcome to our modern day where you can just order your groceries and they deliver it to your house, and you won't get the kind of corn that you ordered. You may not get the right vegetables. You might get the wrong size tomatoes, the wrong onions, but you'll get groceries. But it's quite an adventure. You absolutely have to try that out and enjoy the craziness that comes with ordering online. So good comment. Love to see that. Let's see. I think that's everything. If you have a question, Aaron Precky started this thing. He actually has an algorithm that brings all the Q questions to the surface. But if you do add a Q, it's just quicker for me to see because there is a lot of saying hi in the beginning of the chat. So obviously, if you have a specific question, Q is great. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do tonight. I don't really want to go really long. I don't want to keep you guys long. I was talking to Freddie. Don't see Freddie yet in the chat. I was talking to Freddie in a Zoom call yesterday. He and I have become friends over time, and that's happening with some of the rest of you here in the live stream tonight too. And that's part of the exciting part of this is you get to meet people from around the world and get to have these things in common, which we call live streaming or video technology, and that involves microphones and lights. And so that kind of gives me common ground with people that tune into this channel. And I've had people tune in that just upload videos and they want to go live. I actually do some consulting primarily, My consulting has always been around organic social media growth, video production, audio, and then obviously live streaming. And I started with OBS, and which is free downloadable software, and had a cam link, which I have in my drawer, which just lets you bring a traditional HDMI output camera into your computer so that you could then project that in a computer software like OBS, where now I stream from Blackmagic Design's ATEMs, and I have two in my studio, an ATEM Mini and an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. And so 4 channels and 8 channels, 1 HDMI out on the ATEM Mini Pro and 2 HDMI outs. And so, and they just keep getting bigger and better and badder. They don't always fit what your needs are, so keep that in mind, but that's how I'm using it now. So I don't need to use the cam link. The only cameras I bring into my computers now are my Skycam, and that is this Insta360 Link, which I like to use because it has a gimbal on it, and I can program 6 different locations, and I bring that in through my PC. And then from my PC has a output that goes into my ATEM Mini, and then my ATEM Mini has an output, the only out going out into the program, and then I have it set for program. So when I bring something in from my ATEM Mini into the live show, I actually have it not multi-view, I actually have it program out, because you guys don't want to see multi-view. But I could bring multi-view into the show anytime just by the buttons on the front of the ATEM, because you can decide what you want that HDMI out to do. At least you have a small, tiny matrix on the front. And then you even have more buttons to adjust one of your HDMI outs in the Extreme ISO. So we're going to be talking about the Studio B plan. I've got some video footage. We're also going to talk about my first camera tonight. Just briefly, it's in the still image, and then we're also going to look at the completed project. I put together about a 6-minute video. We'll do that towards the end of tonight. So if you want to see the finished product and hear a short blurb from Kristopher, couldn't be here tonight because he works until 7, and so he won't be off work now for 3 more hours and then a half hour to get here. They changed his schedule. So I recorded him. We finished that project, so I have a short video on that. I have the plans on my desk for our house because some of you guys wanted to see those. So we're going to cut to the overhead camera here in a little bit, and we're going to talk about that after we take a look at the garage and I talk about the first couple things that I have to do out there. And then probably one of the biggest conversations is I'm leaning now about 80 to 90, 95% towards going a specific direction. I got a lead on a ATEM Mini Extreme ISO and a Rodecaster Pro 2 that's available. And so pretty much have made the decision to get that kit just to let everybody know. But I do want to get any more final feedback tonight as we talk about Studio B, because I'm also going to put together a mobile kit, and so that could have the new Extreme ISO in it, or it could have my ATEM Mini Pro, whichever direction I go. But that deal was too good to be true, and I am going to need an extra Rodecaster Pro 2 for the garage, because that's just what I want to use. And then my wife will use our old Rodecaster Pro version 1 for podcasting. So that's going to be set up permanently eventually. And that may be set up permanently inside Studio B over in her area once we get Studio B built. And so that's kind of where we're going tonight. So before we get out of here, let's see if there's any last things in the chat before we go to the first thing we're going to talk about tonight. This is so funny. Okay. So Joe says he wants me to stay on long. The standing joke is Joe, his parameters are you have to be on for an hour if you're going to do a live stream. And so anyway, I will definitely make that mark tonight. We'll just see how much we can get done. Yeah, my microphone isn't quite in a different spot. It's just the way I have my camera adjusted. So it's actually not cropped in as far because I want more of this monitor to show. And I do have some stuff over here. I am going to be doing some moving. So this studio is going to adjust a little bit. So I will have extra equipment in here until we get Studio B set up. But it'll be fun. First camera I ever used in my life as far as cameras would probably, let's see, I think Shannon bought a little Fujio camera when we first got married. I think my dad had a camera, my father-in-law had a camera, but I didn't really shoot with those. But as far as us owning a camera, it was just one of those little cameras. I actually did a lot of photographs on my early flip phone. That's what kind of got me excited for photography. I've always kind of loved photography, but I didn't want to mess with film and development and all that stuff. But we did have some cameras that Shannon had that used film, but they were always kind of her cameras, and I would pick those up and use them. But they were, I'm trying to remember back. It was one of the probably the most famous cameras for you would go out and buy to shoot with regular cartridges. And they didn't do very great pictures, but they were a lot of fun. But that was probably my first ever camera, was that camera that we had when we were young marrieds. We take with us camping, and you had the cartridges, and then later we had film. But man, I can't even remember. And they were all built-in lenses, so never had like a DSLR that you could take lenses off. They were always like those, you know, under $120, $140 cameras that you could buy at Kmart or buy at Target or buy at any of those stores over the years. Are you getting up a dedicated studio for Shannon's podcast? Well, actually, Tony, the reason for this studio right here, Studio A, was for Shannon. I was in the bedroom. If you go way back on my channel, I was in our bedroom shooting down the wall, and you could actually see the edge of our bed and the whatever they're called. What is it, man? Am I getting that old? I can't remember things like that. But anyway, the little table and the window was there. It had a nice lamp on the table. And when we started doing Shannon's podcast, we did it on the dining room table. And I had to set everything up, including hall lights out. And really, to make it look good with all the windows at our dining room table, I literally had to set up a couple lights. And I had to wait until the afternoon because the sun was over my shoulder. And it still would be really bright coming off the fence. And so as the sun would begin to move away from the house, we would then be able to shoot. But I had to crank my photo deox lights all the way up to try to compensate for the sun. And then the window behind them could be in the one window on the other side, because it was kind of a semi-corner shot. You could get some good backlighting, and it really turned out pretty nice. But eventually, because the dining room table just didn't work right, so we decided to move back here and use the man cave, because this was a man cave. And I told her, I said, I'll just put a desk in the closet because I'm not using the closet, and I'll still keep my 2 chairs in here. We'll still be able to watch TV. So it was a man cave slash production room, but it became very apparent really quickly that those 2 big leather chairs were in the way. So I did away with the leather chairs, got these smaller chairs, and it just progressed from there. Then when I left the RV business, I started doing more and more work out of here than I was doing when I was gone all the time. And so that's when I started building the channel. I started taking clients before that. I did some voiceover in here for radio work, and this room just progressed. And so going in the garage gives me a big enough space, if it works out that way, to be able to have a place for Shannon to come out and work when she's building her dollhouse, which is, you know, maybe 2 or 3 days a week or 2 or 3 nights. So she would work around any of my clients or any of my regular schedules. But then she could go out, schedule time in the studio, and they could sit and just do an audio podcast. So it would be on her main workstation, and we'll talk more about that later. So I hope that answers your question, Tony, but thank you so much for asking that. Did I ever have a piece of equipment die on a shoot? No, not a piece of equipment, but I was doing a shoot for a client. We had just left their house. We did some shooting at their house. We wanted to show the kids getting into their motor home. It was a promo video, and I wanted to show some lifestyle. I wanted to paint the picture of him not only being a business owner, but working in his business with his wife, the fact that they worked out of their home, and that they also had this family life. And so I was shooting at the house. I got pictures of the kids coming out of the house, going in the RV. We got some B-roll from the house. I went and then had them drive away. I got some great B-roll of them driving away. Then I went over to the location that we were going to do all the other shots, kids on the playground, by the waterfront. And so as I was getting that first half of the shoot done, all of a sudden, my disc died. In fact, it was exactly like this one, a 256 gig computer bay with a K, and it failed. In fact, it's still over in that drawer. And funny story about that, I tried for 2 or 3 days to replace it. We went back and did some new B-roll at the house, but I lost that footage, so I reshot some pieces. And I told them I have enough footage still to put together the video, but I always regretted, losing that, kids getting in the motorhome and taking off down the road, because we weren't going to reshoot that. And the funny thing is, I had that disc out 2 weeks ago, sitting in a drawer, and this has been 2.5 years since I shot that video. And I put it in a drive that I had, a portable drive. I was working in the garage because I have an older computer out there that I use occasionally. I'll go out there and play an older PC game just to get out of the house. It's kind of more of a non-work space for me. So I'll sit there at that table out there, workbench, and I might play an older PC game. I'll get bored in a minute or two, but I'll still load them in and go down memory lane of some of these games I played years ago, because that PC will play some of those games. I don't want to load them in here. And to make a long story even longer, I fired that disc up, and it opened, and I was able to copy those files from that shoot and load them onto a backup drive out there. And so I made a couple copies of it that day. So I actually have that footage, even though it has absolutely no value to me now. It felt pretty awesome to be able to recover that footage, but I haven't had any equipment die on me. I've been very blessed. I always take 2 DSLRs with me, 2 shoots. So I always have a camera A, a camera B. I might be using B-roll or close-up shots from one of the cameras, but the idea of always having 2 cameras on these shots isn't just because I want to get that wide shot and then the push close-up shot in those promo videos, but I want to have a backup. And then I always take my little DJI mobile pocket camera, and even though it doesn't have super good glass, it does do a good image. So in a pinch, I can use that for some B-roll where I don't need any real depth of field or really bokeh background, blurry background. So I have that as a backup. I almost always take my DJI with me. I have my iPhone with me now. I almost always travel with my filters from my iPhone, and I did a video on here as well. So with that said, that's why I will take 2 cameras with me on a shoot. No to B&H. She freaks out every time she comes in here, so she's not into tech at all, and dragged her feet doing the podcast, especially when I told her I wanted to do a video podcast. But she understands now, and she's been willing to be mentored, but she'll never be excited about electronics. No, she doesn't watch my videos. My garage is not heated, but we'll talk more about that because that will be one of the steps in making it ready for to be a Studio B. I may consider getting the YOLO Box Pro, Tony, because I like the features on it. I like that I can take it mobilely with me. Like next week, I will not be live because I'm going to be just getting into Dallas, Oregon in the afternoon. I've got to pack that Tuesday morning, and then I got to drive all the way to Dallas, Oregon. It's 6 hours in good weather. It could be as many as 6, 7, or 8 hours. So after I pack and hit the road about 9 o'clock, I won't be arriving until after live stream time, but I am going to bring back some footage and share that, guys, with you the next week. The following week, Shannon and I are going on a little mini trip, planning to be back about 2:30, 3 o'clock that evening. So I'll bring some footage for that. I will go live for an hour that night, but it won't be super technical live. I won't have the typical 6 to 8 to 9 hours that I put into these live streams getting ready for them. So eventually I will play with these things. They're over my head at this point, even though I've watched enough videos and had enough conversations about that equipment that I can do that. New Rise TV, hello. It's good to have you with us from the framing from Framingham. Wow, I don't know where Framingham is, so give us some kind of bearing for that, but it is great to have you with us. That's awesome. Man, this is just like, Joe, question galore. No to a NAS, though it's on the list for 2023. Yes, I would be able to do some write-ups on the garage. Yes, I would buy another BenQ for Studio B if I get to keep Studio A and B. And obviously, if something happens with Shannon's mom, she's doing great. She's had completely bounced back from our near scare where she had almost the whole artery to her brain blocked by a blood clot. Long story, but miraculously, they took the treatment port out, and she's doing great. And so if she was needing to come into our house because she lives next door, because she needs to have more of us being involved close to her, then I would have to move out of Studio A, and I would be in Studio B predominantly. So we'll see about that. Okay, I'm going to come back to this. Okay, I'll share this. It wasn't AV gear, but I'll segue to this. It would be a toss-up between my Studio One board and also my first Panasonic HMC 150 camera, which is in the still image, and I'll just pop that up on the screen here. So there I am in that top corner with the Panasonic camera that shot 720p only. And so with that in mind, I sold it years ago, but that was my first really hands-on cinema camera, and it had XLR inputs, had a great flip-out screen. In those days, believe it or not, I knew nothing about most of the exposure triangle. We're talking about shutter, ISO, and aperture. I didn't really know anything about that. Had a basic concept of shutter speed, but if you had asked me what I need to have my shutter speed at to stop motion, so catch someone in the air jumping or a bouquet in the air, if you're shooting a wedding, I wouldn't have known if that was 60, 1/60 of a second or 240th of a second. I wouldn't have known that back in those days. Had no clue what aperture did. Didn't know why some people could get that blurry background. So again, that was kind of the big life-changing piece of equipment. And I wanted to put that picture in the still image because occasionally when I'm going back through computers, and I have been organizing hard drives, I did buy a 14 terabyte Western Digital drive just to get some stuff off of my SD drives that I don't need. I don't want to throw them away. I wouldn't cry if I lost that footage. So I was moving a lot of extra ISO footage and things like that over there. I don't put any of my main copied program files on there. So I have this version that you're seeing, but when I don't need those ISOs, I'm not gonna make a short or I'm not gonna make another video out of them. I'm popping them on those. So I was going through some old hard drives. You'll see in the video tonight, tomorrow, and try to put it back together to be able to shoot from Studio B. But I did go out today and shot a video. Okay, it looks like we're back on the air. I don't know what happened. I am so very sorry. But all of a sudden, the alarms went off, the buffer filled up. So hopefully we will stay on the air. So thank you for not running off. And so hopefully you've got me. So let me know in the chat if we're back up and running. Joe, I think it was the plethora of questions that cost us our stream. That may be a new world record of questions in a row. So anyway, I do not have a backup stream, but you guys can see all the cache as well. Noel, thank you very much. You're live again, forced online. That's awesome. Live. We should just coin that. I'll make a shirt. Live again. Okay, so before we have something else crazy happen, the glitch in the atmosphere, let's do this real quick. I'm going to cut over, turn chat off the air, cut over to my HyperDeck. I want to bring up Super Source here. What happened to Super Source? Go live, Super Source. Thank you. Okay, so this is that video, but I'm going to play it through once, and then we're going to talk back through it. This is the garage. It's a 3-car garage. I'm going to show you the plans tonight, but let's roll this. I can talk over it as we go. Hopefully I deleted any audio. So I'm going in the attic. This is a look in the attic. To the left are some paper holders for my pull down papers, but that's Shannon's office up there. And it sits right in the middle of our garage on the 2nd story. So we're looking down now the side of the house. That's the outside of the roof of the garage. And you can see it's not insulated. That needs to be insulated. There is some insulation, but not fully insulated. Mainly that's to cover pipes. That wall has insulation in it. So it's got an outside gypsum board, then insulation, and then sheetrock inside Shannon's bonus room upstairs. But I wanted you guys to see the attic because there's the power. they put that Smurf tube in, even though there's nothing in it. So that was exciting to me because I will be using that Smurf tube. And then I'm going to have to go through the floor underneath Shannon's office to get wire. And you can see those wires go through the floor. And I'll go back through this on my HyperDeck because I can stop it at any time right there. And I can scroll forward. So let's go back here real quick. So right here, right there are those covers for my papers that are hanging in my garage. And if we go back a little further, you can see the wires go through right there. And I also will need to run some new wires to my wall. That shoots straight over to where the new garage will be. So this part of that truss is right about over where my lights are on my side of the garage. And so I'm going to have to continue some wire over to Shannon's side of the studio because I want to run a new circuit. I already have a circuit that you're going to see here later in the video, but I got to insulate upstairs before I do anything else. I've got to put some plywood up there, and it'll have to be shorter sheets unless I open up a bigger access to the garage attic. But so here's me climbing down. I think I'm climbing down at this point in the video. Nope, going back up again. Because I wanted to point this out right here. There's little knockouts there, so that would go right through the floor. There is insulation in the floor. So it'd be pretty easy to run a separate conduit, depending on where I want the drop to come down in the new wall. But I wanted you guys to see the attic space because this is very crucial to what I'll have to do to get going. So little pop outs in that truss, and the trusses get bigger and thicker and stronger and have beam support underneath Shannon's room, and her room is right behind there. And there's two of these attics. I only took video of one. There's one on the other side of her room, and there's one on my side of her room. So the double door garage side we're looking at now, and there's also her side of the garage. So let's cruise forward here, get out of the attic. I took lots of footage. So here I am climbing down. Let's back that up. So I'll hit play. And you guys can kind of get this last view here. Here we go. I'm just shooting down the ladder. And it's a pretty high ceiling, which is great. I love it. Same height as my room here. Okay, we don't need any more attic, so let's just scroll through this. I ran out of time, so I threw this video together. So the ladder was situated, basically, that's the attic right there. You can see on the top left corner, that's the paper and the rolls that hold those for shipping. Most of them are up in the attic, but I'm gonna be able to take a lot of this stuff that's seasonal on this top shelf and pop it upstairs after I get that attic built. But you can see it's not a very big hole. So I could make that bigger, but I'd have to go towards where my paper is. And I can't go this way. I have to go this way. And I'd love to have a stair ladder, but again, it's a real tall attic, and that's probably not gonna work. I have to stand at the very top of the ladder. I can push Rubbermaid tubs through there, but to get lumber up there to work, that would be a challenge. So let me continue through this, and then we're going to take some questions. So all of that stuff is on Shannon's side, and a lot of that is she gives out kits to her clients. So she's going to stop doing that. There's some birth pools there you can see in the green bags. Just a lot of stuff. She did unload her car yesterday, so some of that stuff just came out of her car because she's off call for a while. So she brought that stuff inside because we're going to be going on a trip in her car. So all the extra stuff she carries is now inside. She still has clients, but she doesn't have any births that are going to happen in the next month to 6 weeks. So she's free, not on call. She still will see clients that have births upcoming 6 weeks from now. But so that's her garage there. So you see you have the garage door and another attic right there. So that's just pretty much the same size attic. The wires will run right through there and right past that hole, so I could access ladder there. And then right up there, you see that light I hung for her. There's an outlet up there for the garage door, and so I hung a light that I had for portable traveling. It's an old light that I found at a Goodwill and bought it, and you can put 4 bulbs in it, super bright. I use it a lot for backlighting when I'm outdoors. I just lay it on the ground and throw some light to create some silhouetting. Sometimes I will clamp it to a C-stand. Again, it's just to provide light and right behind someone. So a great light to just separate someone from a background. So let's keep going here. And so there's an outlet right here I'm walking up to that I had installed. So that outlet right there is actually a separate circuit that I wanted in the garage. So there's 2 separate circuits in the garage that aren't attached to all the other outlets. That one, and then another one that I have in the ceiling that I put in when we built the house, because I knew that I would want to do stuff out in the garage. I knew I was going to shoot green screen stuff out there. But mainly I set it up so I could do photo shoots, because you don't need soundproofing when you're doing a photo shoot. You just need to be able to heat and cool the garage. And I have 2 heaters, portable heaters, and I'll talk about how I use those here in a second. Let's keep going. So the wall is going to kind of go right between that file cabinet and that ice chest, and that's the stairway that goes up to my wife's office. So that side of the garage is deeper. So I have all of my stuff there. I have my workbench. I have my cabinet where I have all of my non-electronic gear in there. So like soft boxes, tripods, anything I can shove in those. I have lenses and things in those Rubbermaid drawers. I have portable gear in the corner. I do have some photo deox lights I do leave out in the garage. I've never had any trouble with them, so hopefully that won't destroy them. But all the other electronics I pretty well keep inside, because that is not a heated garage. Keep going. So that's the main supporting beam, and then there's the other outlet. That is another circuit, and I tapped into that for these lights in the studio. So these lights that are in the middle of that side of the studio, which is kind of traditional strip lights, that's hooked into that circuit now. So that would be my lighting circuit if I do move into the garage. I'm using it for lighting right now. And that's the seam where the wall will go. So the reason I shot this is I wanted to give you guys an idea that the wall is going to go right where that seam hits the file cabinet. And you're going to see how that goes down through the floor and to that side of the garage, and it will go right into that wall. So that outlet right there would be easy to bring into the wall. And then I would bring another circuit into that wall, because again, Shannon's going to be working there. I'm probably going to do some stuff all the time right from there. Her Rodecaster Pro would sit there. Or she could take it out and set it there, but that's where she would be doing her podcast, because we would be treating that side of the room. And that's where I have to adjust for these doors, because the plan is to continue using that garage for my car. But one of the things that Shannon and I talked about, and I wanted to share this because I haven't shared this yet, I told her, I go, once I get this all set up, and if I get it heated, and I'm planning on buying a heating unit, we're still debating if we do both garages, but now we're actually literally considering using the smaller garage for my office. But what I don't like about that, the door from the house comes in that way. So anybody that wants to get to the car garage would have to go through my studio to get there, unless I do a small hallway, which doesn't make sense. That room's not that long anyway. So, so that's kind of a conversation about that garage. And let me just continue through this video and then I'll take some questions here. So this is her table. So we want to convert all of that stuff and get, I'm going through it right now. About a third of that's going away. Some of it can go in my cabinet. The stuff, a lot of that stuff Shannon's going to go through and it's going to go in the attic. So we'll have to insulate the attic, number one, get an electrician in to run the wires, at least to where we think the wall is going to go. And then we can do drops later and pulls later. I need to run a cat cable into the studio. I'm going to do two locations. I would do a location on the wall and in the corner. And so right here, in that corner is probably where I would have my main desk for doing things like I'm doing right now, my live stream, as well as potentially client work, because it's tucked away and in the corner. So if we do use the 2-car garage, then that's where my desk will be. If we use the 1-car garage, we would lose the door. So let me jump back here real quick. That door on the left, we would take down. I would probably have an entrance and exit door, but that doesn't help me get people through the garage door that's right behind. If I was in that garage right now, there's a garage door right over this shoulder. And so I don't want people coming in and out of that room. So I'm not sure I like that idea, but again, that garage door would go away. But if I go to my side of the garage, this 2-door side, the garage door would have to stay. And so I'm all ready for getting rid of a garage door so that I could really make it soundproof. So the cabinets are going to have to be organized. The corner is going to have to be organized. Some of the gear that's in there is going to have to go in the attic that I only use when I'm doing mobile shoots. So there's a lot of little things that I have to do to get ready to do this shoot. And then all of this stuff has to be organized. It'll probably end up on the long wall. So any tools and stuff we have would be on one side of that new long wall. And I would have my computer. You can see I have a computer there. I'm going to give you guys a close-up here in the video. I already have some older monitors out there. One's a 27-inch TV. There's my rack lighting, and that's a big T of lights. I like lots of lights. I'm getting older. So there's a desktop PC right there on the right, a medium-sized mini case, and that still works. It's got Windows XP on it. I think it's like an i7 processor with the older video card. That was my office computer a number of years back. It also was a backup computer for a while in my old studio. I had a Macintosh, and then I also had that PC as a backup in the old recording studio. And there's a close-up. So that still works. It actually has a DVD writing drive, so I could write DVDs if I still wanted to. And we're going to replace that, probably that ice chest with a stand-up ice chest, and it's probably going to stay right there. So, okay. So I don't want to bore you guys to tears, so I'm going to cut from this real quick to camera 1. And now I'm going to change my microphone here, and actually it probably sound good like that. And here are the plans to the house. You guys asked to see those, so I'm going to set, this is the bonus room upstairs. And I gave you guys a shot inside this attic space right there. This is a copy. And the other side of the attic that you saw on Shannon's side of the garage is right here. Those entrances to the garage, those little portals are right about here on both sides of the garage. So I'll do a little close-up of that. Just this page. So this is kind of the attic space. I know it's upside down, but we went in this side, and this side we didn't go in, but I showed you that access. And then this is the bonus room. So the stairs go right up here. She has a bathroom upstairs. So that's right above the ice chest. Downstairs sits right about here. And so this is where I have to run the wires, right under her floor. And then that new wall goes right about here. So let's switch over to these drawings. And so same basic way, this is where that wall would go. And I have to get wires through the attic over to this wall, bring in this drop, this outlet into the wall, this outlet into the wall. And then I've got to get my Studio A, which is right here. I've got to go through, there's a kind of a portal. My IT equipment's in this closet. This is Bryson's room. He's in there live gaming right now, and I'm live in this room. And so to get to my garage, I got to go down the hallway into the garage, and the garage entrance is right here. And so if we use this room, we would lose the garage door, but this one, I got to keep it a garage. And so that is obviously my challenge. Keeping this a garage means that I would have to be able to open this door. I'm going to have to deal with sound. And so we've always talked about this possibly being a separate room in our house. That's why we did the second, the bonus. So what they do is they shift the garage down and they add the bonus garage right here. And they lengthen it. If they don't do this garage, your garage is shorter. My garage would have been the same depth, but it would have been over here. So part of it would be a little bit longer, but the rest of it wouldn't. I could have put a door back here, but I didn't. You can see it looks like there's a door there, but I have no door. So if I go in that garage, my desk would go here. Our workstations would go right here. And this garage door would still have to be opened up. And my T lighting would have to come down, or I would use it differently. And I would also want to tap into this outlet that's right up here in Shannon's side of the garage. So if I do use this side of the garage, I really don't want to add a hallway here and another garage door, but I could. I could add a hallway to the garage, put the new stand-up ice deal there. I would even have to make this a doorway. I could just have this open if I built a wall right there. And they actually have model homes in the area that they do. They basically take a house like mine and they turn the garage into office space and a waiting room. And so Shannon and I were actually able to look at some other garages about the same size of ours that they actually created those as entryways to actually do open houses. They just realized that as they're building houses in this area, it made more sense to have a location that people could go to and meet with a real estate agent and look at that model home. And then if they didn't like that model home that they built in the garage and office, then they would bust out to other versions of that house, maybe another version of that floor plan at another location, or, you know, on and on and on and on. So let's cut back to these real quick and see if you guys have any specific questions right now about the layout and the floor plan in my studio. So again, attic that we went in right here, Shannon's bonus room. So this is the upper level plans. We did not look in this side of the attic, but I did show you the attic access. This is my side of the garage, Shannon's side of the garage, but the trusses are reversed. And then on this side, this is where my studio is now. So these closet doors have been taken down and my desk sits right here in the closet. And that's a true story. So I've got to get cat cable from where my network is, right in that closet. Cable and stuff comes in the house right here. My satellite receiver, which is basically a wave radio system that I got from a guy that I met. It shoots over to a station right there in the back of my house, and that's what feeds my network signal. And then my son has cable in his room as well. So in my IT closet, there's a cable modem. He uses exclusively, no wireless, just directly to his computer for gaming. He pays for that every month. And I'm going to be tapping into that as a backup system. But also, I have a wireless system. And if I go back into the garage, I will definitely have cable in there as well. and a backup system in there as well. So I'll have two wireless signals or two internet signals coming to my house from two separate sources, just as redundancy. So, okay, let me get back in the chat. And in order to put chat on the screen, I'll have to switch over to this view. We'll go like that to get the logo back on here, and let me catch up in the chat. And then I have a picture of equipment that I want to show you guys as well. So, okay. Yeah, what in the world just happened? Mina logo. Let's put chat signal live again. I was working really hard, Bill, in the background. What do you do? I've been thinking about a redundant backup stream, and we'll be talking about that later tonight. I don't have one now, so there is no backup. If we had gone down, we would have been down for good. And my on the air literally was flashing on my ATEM Extreme ISO, so you guys know, but I felt like I will just wait it out and see what happens. Good to see you, Lieutenant A.K. Allen. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have been busting in the Studio B conversation. I will be running Cat 6 for sure. Yeah, they did a good job on organizing all the cabling in the house, and I have pictures of every wall before sheetrock went up, before insulation went up. I wanted to know the lay of the land, so I have photographs that I can reference. They're on a hard drive right here in the studio. So when I get ready to start any plan, when I get an electrician, we'll be able to sit down and look at all that stuff. He'll be able to see what circuits I have dedicated for this room. And obviously, we could branch off of those circuits as well in the main studio, because I do have two circuits that come here that are dedicated, and I have two circuits in the garage that are dedicated just for gear, because I wanted to do photo shooting in the garage, and I wanted to be able to do have a man cave in here. I never thought I'd be using this much power, but yeah, definitely going to run cabling first, electrical, cat cable, and all of that. Work out all the details of that, and we want to run an extra conduit for extra wiring to that wall as well. And then they're probably going to run another conduit along the attic, and then do a drop over in that corner for me. And the nice thing is I do have that attic space over my garage. It's on the perfect side. So the wall will be the way the floor underneath Shannon's office upstairs, the bonus room, and that wall that we put up will be the way to get most of the power that we are going to be able to access in the other garage if we decide to go with a smaller garage and make more of a permanent office, which is making more and more sense from a home value perspective. But we'll see. I think losing a 3-car garage and adding a bedroom may or may not be a good thing. We're really going to be talking to some people about that, that know the values of that. And if I do, I'll have to raise the floor to be even with the entrance exit of the house, because our garage is a drop. And so anyway. Yeah, I have plenty of power in the garage because the box is right there in the double car garage, and I already have pulled quite a bit of power in my garage, but we will be running more, as long as there's power in the panel that I can get, I'll be getting. I don't have a super big house, so I should have plenty of power left over. And like I said, I already have 4 dedicated circuits. One runs to the garage, dedicated just for me. It's not the outlets in the garage. It's not the regular lighting in the garage. It's specifically a separate outlet, and I'm tapped into that right now for those lights that you see, the T lights that I have on my side of the garage for when I want to work in there and do green screen work. So, yeah, I call it a Smurf tube. That's slang around here. So, heckling begin. I'm going to do probably 60, 70% of the work, Tony. I will hire an electrician to do the electrical. I will work with my buddy to do the IT, unless you want to fly up here. I don't have enough miles right now, but that would be a good reason to use them. That would be a blast to do that project together. But I am going to hire some plans, because I want to have legit plans to go with the plans of the house if we ever sell it. So I will hire an architect, believe it or not, and spend the money just to do the wall, to look at loads and all that stuff, and just make sure that I'm doing everything correct. I will get a permit, and we'll have to, if I do create a wall there, I think it'll have to be 2x6. I don't know yet for sure, but anytime it's considered, well, it's an interior wall, so I might get lucky as long as it's not exterior to the house. So I'll have to talk to them about that. When I built the family room off of my old garage, it did have to be a 2x6 wall here in the same area, because it was going to be the outside wall to the garage, and the garage was not going to be heated. So they said it'd have to be a 2x6 wall to meet code. Has to be treated lumber on the floor, and we learned that the hard way. So, okay, let's see here. The traffic cone is for Shannon to block off parking when our neighbors start parking in front of our house. So on our 2 client days, we used to have to use a traffic cone out there, and we stuck a sign down the hole saying private parking there, because you have to fight for street parking around here because the house lots are not very big. In that cabinet below that little work desk in the garage is where I have my drills and my tools and all that kind of stuff. Shannon has her own set of small tools that she's using to build her new dollhouse project, and that's over in her station. And it's on a little mobile tray, little teeny tiny table saw, very cute, not very powerful. Well, right now, Tony, we're trying to make a decision on Mom. So her health was kind of taking a weird turn. She is doing some cancer treatments. So we just wanted to be prepared. So probably springtime, we're going to make some final decisions, which is just maybe a month away. I am going to be adding some gear already to get ready. I already have some gear. So I want to be able to make this transition pretty quickly. So I'll probably get some architectural plans made regardless. So whoever, if we do sell the house and never put up the wall, then they would have plans to do that. And but before I write any checks for electrical or insulation, I do want to insulate above the garage, because a lot of cold air comes in that way. So once I get that in, it's a little easier to cool and heat the garage. So that's going to happen right away. So that project will happen here in the next 4 weeks when I get back. Shannon's off call right now. So I have this trip to Dallas, Oregon next Tuesday. I'll be gone through Saturday. It's a drive there, drive back, 2 days shooting on Wednesday, Thursday, drive back on Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, Shannon and I are heading out of town. And Monday, Tuesday morning to noon, we'll drive back, hopefully be back in time to go live at 4 o'clock. That's the plan. So I will not be live next week when I go to Dallas, Oregon. So those of you who came in late, no live show next week, but I will come back with some footage from the Dallas, Oregon RV factory shoot. So that will be a lot of fun. Do I have a budget to work from? I have money, savings. Shannon has money. So it just depends on what account we're going to tap, depending on how it influences her business or my business. If it's my office and I end up moving out there, then I'll be able to write off the square footage. This will become home footage. I won't be able to write this off. I can write this space off now, but I can't write that space off with my business because I don't do enough photo shoots out there to justify it. We talked to my network guy. I think my router is good enough. I'll have to get the specs and share that with you guys in a future video when we talk just about it. But I think it has an 8-port router, and then I have a big switch, 16 Unify switch. And this local influencer that has helped me since the very beginning of building this house, has his own, had to put in his own internet because his new house had no access to any cable. There was no fiber. So he actually put a tower up in his backyard and actually his side yard. He actually got permits to put a tower up on the hill behind me, which is Badger Mountain, which is pretty high. So he shoots down to a country mercantile store, and then that's distributed to a number of different housing plans, and one of those is mine. So my radar, it's not radar, it's radio, receives right from that tower. He just took a bunch of people off of my radio because he was using it to bounce to some other locations. So my internet actually picked up last week, and I have my internet throttled down a little bit just because I don't need the extra bandwidth that's available for me right now, though I do have it throttled up during Tuesday nights. So whatever happened to the glitch, that was just someone messing something up in the chain. How am I going to deal with sound deadening in the studio? That's a great question. So one of the advantages of moving into Shannon's side, Bill, is I will be able to do some insulation. So what I would do, what I learned years ago when I was doing my recording studio, that as long as you have 6-inch insulation in there and sheetrock, you can add isolation brackets and then another layer of sheetrock, or you could do green glue and then another thickness of sheetrock, and they vibrate at a different frequency. So 1/4-inch sheetrock, 1/2-inch sheetrock, 3/4-inch sheetrock, all of them, because of density, vibrate differently. And then if you put acoustical glue or green glue in between those layers, that also then dampens. So that'll cut down sound from the house. And then I'll just build some panels. I built them before. Just go to Home Depot. I have a guy in Kennewick that I can get really dense fiberglass from. Instead of having the typical pink interior, actually they use like a brown sugar type material. It's easier to handle, it's less toxic, and that's what I use to make all my panels. So you take a 2x4 sheet of that and you make yourself a 2x4 sound panel. You double it up if you want to do more bass frequencies, and if you really want to cut down corner frequencies, then you just take one of those, you build them double height, and then you just you take some rolled up like rubber matting that you would go to lay on your bed. Just buy some of that, the same height as your sound panel, roll it up, tie it with some just fence wire, and hang it from a hook from your ceiling right in the corner, and then you cover that with a panel. And then the panel actually has holes through it because you want to let some of that bass frequency get through into that corner, and then it gets caught in that corner, and that will stop bass frequencies. So bass frequencies and mid frequencies and high frequencies all have their own issue. The biggest challenge in the garage is that if a diesel truck pulls in my driveway, a Shannon client, or if someone pulls down the road, a lot of that diesel vibration comes through. So I have my subwoofer in here on an isolation panel. So it sits on the floor, it has rubber feet, and then it's a studio quality stand for my subwoofer. My speakers are on stands to cut down vibration, but this floor here is raised. It's got carpet in my studio, and it really absorbs the sound. The garage will be a whole nother story. So I'll probably have I'll probably do carpet in that studio just because it's a great sound dampener. I will have to treat the walls. So it really depends on what room we go to. If we go into Shannon's side of the garage, I will use isolation brackets, and I will do 2 layers of probably 1/2-inch sheetrock, or a layer of 1/2-inch sheetrock, and then some soundboard, even with some green glue behind it, just to keep that sound from coming from my side of the garage if I'm parking in there. So, but you can see there's too much junk in there now to do 2-car parking. So that's the conversation we had last weekend. So she's sorting her side of the garage. I'm working on my side of the garage, and then we're going to put wood up in the attic after we get and again, I can't do the wood up there until I get all the lines run. So the last thing that I want to do is cover that. Now, I still could do a hatch panel right where all the wires go through, which is what I would probably do, and just have it hinged. I even have a hinge in the studio right now, so I could hinge that. And then I wouldn't put boards down all the way up to the edge eve of the house, so I could run conduit down there. So it's just figuring out in my head exactly what the end picture is going to look like, and then backing up from that to get there. So hopefully that helps. And if I didn't get that up on the screen, Bill, I apologize. Thank you, Lieutenant A.K. Allen, for listening on your drive home. So it sounds like you've been with us for a while. What exactly is a Smurf tube? That tube, corrugated tube that you run in a wall to pull wires through later. That's the slang around here. I don't know why they call it a Smurf tube. Cool. Thank you for backing me up, Tony. Yeah, it's like a flexible plastic tubing. And if you go back and look at that video, it's up in the attic in that shot. You can go back and watch the video again, but there's actually a tube up there. There's nothing running through it. They ran it. So I think I asked them to run a Smurf tube in there originally. Okay. Color is blue, so hence Smurf. Thank you. We have clarification. Thank you, Tony. Great. When you catch up, Jay, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, that's smart. If you're going to build a house someday, make sure you get lots of wires in there. Yeah, thanks. I'm going to look into Mr. Cool and a lot of different units. The nice thing about the garage is the same place that I'm going to put, guys, wow, it's already quarter after, so there you go. So I'm in the corner that I'm going to put my desk if I'm in the double car garage. And can I cut back to that? Let's take chat off the air. Let's cut back to camera 2. Make sure it's on. And action. So if I am going to move into this side of the garage, right? I'll zoom in here again. Hopefully that's nice and clear and focused. It looks pretty good. So right here is the back of my house, and I have a shed sitting here right now. And there's a pad it sits on. It's gravel. So this is where a door could have gone. So you could put a door out of the house back there, but I wanted the corner wall space. So right back here, I could also put a heat unit. There's plenty of room to set it on the ground right here. We have my mom's old barbecue to get her more room on her patio. So I could set the unit right there, and then we would just have to bring it in here or bring it down this wall, through this wall, and then underneath the stairway down the new wall and put an exchange unit over here. I really want it as far away from my desk, because that's where I told Shannon I want it, at the front of the garage. But you got other things out there, but usually those are mounted up high. So that's kind of what I'm going to do with heat. But I have 2 upright units right now. And what I do is I take some cardboard. We almost always have cardboard laying around the garage, or my mother-in-law next door does. So what I'll do is I'll cut some cardboard. I cut a hole in it, and I had a piece like this last year. And I just put the vents in that, lower my garage door down till it hits the edge of the cardboard. On one end, actually on both ends, I have some short boards that are the same height, and my garage door comes down and hits those boards where I stop it there, and then the cardboard fills the other area, and then I had 2 portable air conditioner heat pump type units that I could cool the garage with, and that's how I do chutes, and they go right here along the floor. It's just my way of solving that. Plenty of power in there to run 2 units because of the circuits. I have that one circuit right here I plug into for one side of the garage. They stand right like this, and they hose out underneath the garage door. The other one stands right here, and it hoses out underneath the garage door. And those will actually bring the heat up because they're heat pumps, and they'll also bring the hot down, especially if I insulate in there above both those attic spaces. And again, both of these attic spaces right here need to be heated because there's insulation under her floor, but there's no insulation under those sides, and I need to get heat in there. And after my son moves out, maybe down the road, I may be in the bonus room upstairs, and that's the other thing that we're talking about. And Shannon may come down, guys, and be downstairs because there's a bathroom right here and those 2 rooms. But again, that cuts out us having guests unless they're up in my studio in the bonus room. So if our kids move out of town and they want to come see us, we bought the small house for a reason, because we didn't want a big yard anymore. We wanted to downsize. The bonus room was a must because of Shannon's business, because she is a home birth midwife and she practices out of upstairs, and I now work out of this space. So lots of things to consider when you're doing these projects, right? They don't happen overnight because these are some of the decisions you have to make right there. So there you have it. Those are my plans, and you guys wanted to see them. My house is basically a master bedroom, closet, bathroom, great room, nice sized patio, dining room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms. Bryson's in there, I'm in here. And so if you want to do a missile strike, now you know how to take me out. So hopefully you won't try to take me out. Turn multi-view back on there. So now what I wanted to do is show you guys a quick still image. So I'm going to set up SuperSource here real quick because I want you guys to see this. Let's see. I want to go into box 2, and I want to bring in, let's bring in media player 1, and let's drop this still image in. Okay. Fade to black. Don't ever hit that. And then I should be able to turn on, is it key 2? Yeah, there we go. So I apologize for this. Let's do this. Let's go like this and like that. Okay, so this little still image right here is what I've been thinking so far. As I said at the big top of the show, I have a line on another ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. I've been talking back and forth with this guy that has this. He was using it temporarily so he could do some preparation at home as well at work. And now the show that he was helping isn't doing that anymore. So it's available. So is his Rodecaster Pro version 2. And so I've committed to purchasing those. Should be able to solidify that deal tonight or tomorrow through Venmo, and we'll see how that goes. And then that will be here probably within a couple of weeks when I get back. So I'll have another Rodecaster Pro for Studio B, and I'll have another Extreme ISO, which will be in Studio A, and there's the layout. So ATEM Mini Pro will go into Studio B, and the ATEM Mini Extreme is going to get rid of a lot of my switches. I might still have a couple splitters because I like lots of monitors for the program out. And I like to be able to send whatever I want to those monitors. In case I'm doing a Zoom call, I want to put the Zoom person up there so it has to display my screen from my laptop. So I love that. So there's the layout. We can talk about this tonight. I did want to give you guys more of a close-up. So that's a better look without me on the screen. And we'll just walk through this. I'm popping program on so I can walk through it too. So we're going to start top left and go right. And because of that, I can be in the way here real quick. So, and that's this camera. So I'll just turn around and talk like this. So top left, and I'm looking at my BenQ right now, if you're wondering. is going to be my Canon 5D Mark III, which could be in both studios. Right now, it's my overhead camera that you guys were looking at my plans from. It times out, so I am going to be replacing that in the next year, but that's probably going to go out to Studio B. Only when I'm doing, like, if I want to go out there and I have A and B and I want to do a short segment, I would walk out there, I'd test it before, flip the camera on. I've got 29 minutes and X amount of seconds before it will blank out. So it's a great camera to be out there. So I would do that. Then also next to that is my PC. Then that's not exact version of my PC in the garage, but it would come into the ATEM. So there's 2 channels. And then my HyperDeck Mini would move out there to the studio. That's 2 more. And I'd like to have my Apple TV. I'd like to have a second Apple TV out there so I can go remote real quickly. But I can come through the HyperDeck, believe it or not. Some people forget that the HyperDeck can record. So you can push the record button and then have the Apple TV come through it. So it's just like having a switch. It takes a couple seconds, just like a typical switch does. And you could have then the HyperDeck channel 4 or 5, because it'll have an alpha and a key channel. So the HyperDeck Mini will take up 2 channels. I can do animated graphics. I could live stream from the studio. And the way I'll get in the main studio is the streaming bridge. So if you look halfway down through the page on the left, and I'm not drawing on the screen tonight, I apologize, but you see the Stream Deck. So there's an arrow from the ATEM Mini Pro going to the network, because it is going to be a network cable. And then it goes to the streaming bridge network cable. That's why I will be running more than one network cable from the garage to the main room. Because if I do stream through the streaming bridge, I'm going to have a dedicated cable that goes from my ATEM Mini Pro through the ceiling down to my switch in the main room. So I can stream through the network there to either one of those extreme ISOs. So, which is the streaming bridge. So I'm going to put the streaming bridge in channel 1 of the new ATEM number 2, and that's on the left on the bottom. So that's kind of an overview. I'm not going to cover all this tonight. This is going to be a conversation that we guys are going to be having for a while. But there is that still image, and I am missing the Raspberry Pi, which may be in the studio as a second computer. I may have 2 Raspberry Pis, because I could have one just to keep the Stream Deck going. I could have another one to be a playback. If I wanted a second playback device, I could put Playout B on it. I already own that. I would put the system software on it to do the Stream Deck, if I was going to make one Raspberry Pi for Stream Deck and the other one for the Playout B, which is a basically it's like mimics a HyperDeck, so you can play back videos, you can automate it like I do my intro and my outro videos. So again, guys, that is what I have set up right now, and I will need to figure out exactly how I'm going to wire all this. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, in order to get the advantage of going from my ATEM Mini Pro, which comes into channel 3 right now. So if you look at the drawing right now on the bottom, you can see that I have both HDMI outputs of the Extreme ISO coming out and going into channel 1 and 2. So most of what I'll bring into the live show would go out of HDMI 1, and that would be my multi-view, so I can look at the multi-view when I'm in the studio, just on my regular monitor. I can go full screen as well, because it's going to come into that channel. So I could make that multi-view full screen. If I wanted to, like right now, I am full screen on my BenQ, showing the program out. Now I have multi-view up. But I want to be able to, right now, my problem with my ATEM Mini Pro is I can only bring one thing in at a time unless I was using a DVE. So then I could have a background layer and then pop the DVE over top of it. But think about this. I have 2 HDMI outs. I'm not really going to be needing to see another monitor with a multi-view on. So I'll feed that into my ATEM um, extreme ISO number 1 when I need to see the multi-view from the other ATEM. And I can pop it on at any time by just making changes now. Because remember, on the front of the ATEM Mini Pro and the front of the ATEM Mini Extremes, I have a matrix. So that's the HDMI channel I'll be using. So I can look at multi-view when I want to, and I can look at channel 1 when I want to. It just will speed things up, especially if I don't have macros created, which I will for both extremes. But then I can bring in 2 things through DVEs from the second extreme ISO. If I wanted to, I can bring multi-view in, so I could have 4 inputs on the screen at the same time and just bring multi-view in. So there's just a lot of things that I'll be able to do with this. It's very similar to like a 2ME, but I'll have 2 super sources now that I can use. I'll be able to do 2 different backgrounds. So I could go super source from my Stream Deck number 1 in my live streams, and I could go super source from Stream Deck number 2. I just have to give up a channel in Stream Deck or ATEM Extreme number 1. So it's complicated. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. I still make some changes. I don't have all the monitors in my display, but you can see it is a mess. So the cool thing is, most of this I've been doing with an ATEM Mini Pro, and now I have to have switches. 2 things come into the switch, then I switch between one or the other, and it comes into my ATEM Mini Pro. But primarily I use my Apple TV, my Camera 3 overhead, my PC, which I do chat, and my Skycam in, and then I also bring in my HyperDeck shuttle, or I can bring in my streaming bridge. So when I did the stream from my garage, I just unplugged my HyperDeck shuttle and I plugged in my streaming bridge into the ATEM and then brought that in channel 3 live. So this isn't my current layout. This is my future layout, and I will be pulling the trigger on a new Rodecaster Pro version 2, and I'll be pulling the trigger on the new Extreme ISO. Both of them are used. They're very lightly used. They're in great shape. And I will be excited about that. So give me your thoughts and your feedback on this crazy display. I also have some lights and stuff that will be going to that new studio once we get it set up. And remember, if I don't keep this studio, then I have all this gear as well. So basically that ATEM Mini Pro is going to be probably in a mobile rack anyway. Something I can just unhook and take on the road with me if I need to. We'll see how things play out. So, wow. I've been talking a lot tonight. Talked about the Panasonic camera. Talked about Studio B. Even looked in my attic. Looked at the plans tonight. Talked about the extra extreme ISO coming. So I don't know if anybody else is doing this, but I looked at the 2ME and the 4ME. I will be able to ISO record everything coming in. I will be able to have multi-view. I'll have those 4 upstream keys in both of those decks. I'm sure there's lots of things over time that I'm going to discover that I can do, and I can use Companion to control both stream decks, I believe, at the same time, as well as the HyperDecks. That's going to be exciting, as well as the ATEM Mini Pro in the garage. So we'll see. We'll see how well this works, because I wanted my stuff on my desk. That's why I did not go for an ME. That's also why I'm not going to an SDI Extreme ISO, even though I love the idea of 4 outputs. But again, all of those have to be converted, and I only really need 2 SDIs in 2 different decks, because my HyperDeck Mini is going to go to the garage, and my HyperDeck Shuttle has HDMI out and HDMI in. My new HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, it has HDMI in, HDMI out, and it has fill and key in and out. So I have 4 converters now. I'll have 4 converters then. I do have a HDMI to SDI converter that I use, 6G occasionally. So again, I have a lot of the pieces to the puzzle. I have the pod mics. I need a new boom arm. There's lots of things that I'm going to need for this new adventure. So let's cut back to the PC and let's turn chat on the air, find chat on my laptop, and let's wrap the stream up. And I will be playing Kristopher's video tonight before I leave. So it's going to be pre-outro. So stay tuned. When I say goodnight, we're going to play his Batcycle display that we finished up on Sunday. It's about a 6-minute video. And then I will roll the regular outro after that. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so let's see here. I agree with this, Tony, wholeheartedly. Reverse engineering is the key approach. I made that diagram actually in Adobe Illustrator. So I get pictures off the web. I create PNGs out of them. I use my regular background that I use in the back of SuperSource, same background I use for my still images, and I build all that in Adobe Illustrator. It took me about an hour to build just that still image tonight. So a lot of time invested, but I want to do that for you guys. I will be doing if I do any sound deadening, Jay, I will for sure do a specific video for sound deadening. It is something I know. I've done a full-size studio, and I also did a mini studio upstairs in my other house. So it's something that I dearly love and understand, and I will definitely do a video. But and there's 2 different types of soundproofing. There's cutting down sound coming through walls or through glass, and then there's sound deadening, which is more what you do in a room. You want to cut down what they call reflections, and that would be a fun video. Good to have you, Daniel Chow. Why don't you go ATEM 4ME Constellation HD to Rep Ice ATEM Extreme ISO? I kind of cover that. The number one reason, Daniel, is this, and thank you so much for joining us. I sure appreciate it, and thank you. It's that I want things on the desk. I do a lot of training on the Extreme, on the Mini Pro. I've done installs on the Extreme. I've done installs with the ATEM Mini Pro. I've done them with the Web Presenter, even though I don't have one. I am going to add one of those, but I know that product because I had to study it, and then I installed one. So I do some installs for live streaming because I'm helping smaller businesses, small churches. I even had to go in and help fix a large church up in the Spokane area, which is about 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours to the north of me. And so continuing having my fingers on these smaller devices is super important. If I got some bigger clients and the way to go was for me to go to the 4ME, I would do that. But the fact that it doesn't do ISO recording, and no, I may never need 16 tracks of ISO recording, but isn't it nice when you're doing a demo for a client in your studio and you're showing all kinds of things and you forget to show 1 screen or 2 screens, and later on you want to put together a quick training video, which I do for my clients. They obviously pay me for that, but I'll go in and do an in-depth deal on OBS or in-depth on the control surface or in-depth macros. I'll do that all the time. So the advantage for me to have everything ISO recorded and not have to buy a bunch of HyperDecks is that I always have that footage. So everything in all those inputs, even my Apple TV, if it was just showing Apple, the Apple backgrounds, it would be recorded when you hit record, because I'll be hitting record on both of those devices when I'm doing consults as well as when I'm live streaming and doing stuff in both studios. And then also remember, my ATEM Mini Pro is the exception. It's not an ISO. I will only be able to go out there and record the program into this studio. So I may replace eventually that ATEM Mini Pro with the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. I might even put an extreme ISO in the other garage. We'll see. The cool thing is I can broadcast from the garage into the studio using a streaming bridge, which is another reason that I'm sticking with 2 extreme ISOs instead of like a 4ME. Hope that answers your question. Okay. I will definitely be using some Elgato lights in the studio, mainly just for accent lights. And here I'm using the Elgatos on my desk. In that studio, I will also have some Elgato lights on my desk. But the way I'm thinking about shooting in there, Tony, is I probably will shoot towards the long desk. So I may even be on a bar stool. I may do some green screen work behind me. Occasionally I'll be on the corner desk shooting down that work area. So we'll just see. I really want to have 2 locations in there that I can shoot from. And I haven't quite decided how I will do that because the ATEM Mini Pro is limited on how many slots I have in it. Because if I take the HyperDeck Mini out there and I want my PC in, then I can only have like, you notice that my Elgato face cam is also in the garage layout on that still image. So if I cut back to that still image real quick and I'll just drop it in here over top of me. If you look in Studio, where is it? If you look real quickly in Studio B up there, you'll see at the very top next to my PC, my case, is my face cam. That's not the face cam Pro. That's just the regular face cam. So I could bring a camera. It's really good looking, especially for 1080p streaming. It's a real good looking camera as long as it's lit well. Remember, it only has 4 feet of focus. So that is a killer if you're going to be further than 4 feet. I would much rather take this camera out there, which also is great camera. This has a 4K sensor, but it only streams at 1080p, where the new Elgato Facecam Pro is a 4K sensor and you can crop in. The difference is this can crop in too and program 6 locations. It's a gimbal, so it's a real nice tool. So I may use this through the PC out there at first to show things in the studio. This also has a mode to shoot straight down, so you can have it up above your desk and also ask it to shoot down. It'll shoot just down just like my overhead camera, and it's really cool. This also has a portrait feature if I wanted to do a short. So pretty cool devices. So I'm not sure exactly how I'll have 2 locations in that studio, but I always have a Skycam going on in there as well because I bring those in through my PC. And remember, I can also come in the HyperDeck HDMI. So I could have a second camera that comes into my HyperDeck, but I got to go from record mode to playback mode to play a video. So people forget that the HyperDeck actually will pass through video as well. So pass through the audio as well if it's coming from the camera, or you have to embed audio. And I actually have a HDMI to 6G converter that lets you embed 1/4 inch right and left audio. So I have the converter already to come from a camera, embed audio, and then go into the back of my HyperDeck shuttle. Now, if you do put a microphone on your camera, the new HyperDeck shuttle, the HyperDeck Studio HD Plus, that's the one that I would come in through that 6G converter. It also has an HDMI input. So if you have audio coming into your camera, which I don't do, my audio comes through my Rodecaster Pro, you can then come in to the HyperDeck from that audio, and now you have a video and audio coming into your HyperDeck. You can put your HyperDeck in record mode. You have to push record twice to record. You push it, if you're in play mode, you push it once, it starts video coming through it. Hit it again, it starts to record. And then you got to hit play to get out of record mode back into play mode. So with that in mind, you actually have another way to bring, if you have a HyperDeck hooked up into your ATEM Mini Pro into 2 channels, you can come into your HyperDeck either one of those channels. So I could be in 8 or I could be in 7 right now on this live stream if I had a camera coming directly in to my HyperDeck shuttle. So keep that in mind. That's another way of bringing in another input. So I could use that for another angle and then just come through my HyperDeck channel 4 and 5. My mini can do that as well. Okay, so the drawing was about an hour because I already have all those still images loaded into my PC. If I have to make a new PNG, add time, but I can take a JPEG and make a PNG in a matter of probably about 15 seconds once it's loaded in Photoshop. Just really simple. Let me know if you guys want me to do a training on how to turn a JPEG into a PNG using Photoshop. I would be happy to do that. My garage can get access to Wi-Fi, but it does not have a Wi-Fi in it. I do use Wi-Fi out there on that PC, but I won't be using Wi-Fi in my studio. I'll have everything wired, and then I will have a Wi-Fi access point for my Apple TV, and not my Apple TV, but to tether to my Apple TV, so my phone and my Apple TV can work together. I will be using my famous switches for sure, Joe. No windows in the garage to deal with, but thank you for asking. Great to have you, Freddie, as always. I shared earlier that Freddie and I got to be on a Zoom call yesterday. What a great cat. Doesn't have a channel yet, but thank you, Freddie, for joining us. It's great to have you. Let me just go through here. Thank you, Daniel, for popping in. We'll see you later. Oh, it looks like you're staying. Thank you, Freddie. Yeah, probably eventually another extreme ISO in the garage for sure. I don't know if I'll ever rival Aaron Parecki. He's one of my online heroes. I'm a huge fan and love what he's doing. And so for whatever it's worth, not in competition. Hopefully one day I'll be able to get Aaron on my show. We'll see. I chat with him a lot on Twitter just to ask questions, but no relationship at this point other than I'm a fan. So yeah, minus the sparkly jacket. He brings that out when he hits a big mark, and it's time for him to grab a blue jacket. Yeah, I have a video on this, Freddie. I'll send you a link. I also did 2 videos back a while ago. One where I recorded 4K, right? Directly from my camera into a HyperDeck, and then I compared that to HyperDeck High. Well, I did it 1080p recording, and I did a side-by-side comparison to not HyperDeck, yeah, HyperDeck High that you can do in the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO or the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. So what you can do HyperDeck High in any of the ATEMs, actually the ones that record. It's a setting on, well, let's show you. Let me change what's in SuperSource here real quick, and then we will try to wrap this up because it is getting late. So let me go into input number 2, and I'm going to change this to my laptop. And let's get it ready here. And let me pull over. Oh, you know what? I can't show this because it reveals my streaming key. Sorry about that, Freddie. But I'll just say this. In the output settings in your control software, you can change the resolution of your stream, and it records at the same resolution. So if I'm in HyperDeck High, it's a higher codec. It's just a better quality video. There's more information there. And if you go, like I stream normally at streaming high, and that is about 6.2 or so average megabytes a second. If I was trying to stream at HyperDeck High, which I've never tried, it's going to be quite a bit higher bandwidth than that. So that is the comparison side by side I did. I want to compare recording directly in my HyperDeck at 1080p directly from the camera compared to the same signal going into my ATEM Mini Pro and do a side-by-side comparison of that 1080p footage. Then I also did a 4K recording into the HyperDeck because my HyperDecks, both of them, can record. Well, my first HyperDeck can record 4K 30 frames per second, and so can my HD Plus record at 4K 30 frames per second. You got to go to the 4K models to go higher than that. They also have an 8K model as available as well. Okay. I don't have time right now. I'm not set up, Joe, to do that sample, but I will give you guys a quick rundown just because I love you. And let's see here. I remembered I have Photoshop open. So let's do this. Here's that big still image I made. Let's take chat off the air for right now. And if I was to create a new folder here, actually, this is Photoshop. So the still image is over here in Adobe Illustrator. And then I do some cropping. I don't like the way Adobe Illustrator exports anything. So I bring that JPEG into Photoshop, and I always do any cropping if there's any white borders. It's just a weird Adobe thing, Illustrator thing, and I fix that in Photoshop. And also Photoshop has a better export engine. I can go exactly 1080p. I can lower the resolution for YouTube if I need to do that. So okay, so real quick, Photoshop, let's open up a JPEG that I would want some transparency in. I'll go to my travel drive, to my studio folder here. Yeah, you do that to me. And then this is where I have JPEGs I imported and then PNGs. So this is a PNG, this is a PNG. There's some TIFFs in here. So let's just find a JPEG here that will be semi-easy to do. Let's do the headphones. Open up the headphones, right? We'll zoom into this. All you do is you go up here to this magic wand tool. You set it at about 22. You can change this tolerance number up here. Tap anywhere in the white space. You can see it borders that. Hold down Shift, click in that space, and hold it down again because it's not getting through this crop. There's no white on the outside of this set of headphones. So I'm going to click over here. And now I have a border. It's chosen. So it's separating both layers, the white layer from everything else. And now what I need to do is I'm going to right click anywhere in the white area. I'm going to go down here to select inverse. So I've just selected the inverse of what it had selected. Then all I have to do is go down to the bottom right, click this little folder with a hole in it, and bang, I have a PNG. And then when you go up to export, file, export, it has a quick export as PNG feature. Now this is going to export to the last place that I exported a JPEG. So you can see it's the wrong folder. So I would want to go back and select that studio folder. So, but we'll go ahead and we'll go into tonight's folder, travel. Let's go into, oops, not travel. I'm going to go into M Drive. We're going to go down here to live stream. And this is a lesson in organizing your events. We're going to go to January 24, and I am just going to paste it in here. Waiting for that drive to spin up because I don't use it for anything but archiving files. So after it spins up, it'll save. And I could pull that PNG right in to the live show because I can drag and drop from that folder right into the software. You can also save directly in to the software, but I got to reinstall the plugin because when I updated my Adobe Premiere or my Adobe software, it didn't update the plugin to that software. So it's in that folder now. So I will bring this over. And I'm going to drag it right here in my recents, right in there. Now it's a PNG. I'll drag this back off the screen. We are going to cut back to the main camera. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drop this transparent PNG right over, replacing my logo, which is right there. And bang, I now have headphones in front of me. I could go into that key if I wanted to, and open key number 1 up, turn flying key on, and let's see if I have anything programmed in here. Run to B, run to A. Would be great if A was smaller, but that's from a video I was doing for a client yesterday. So we'll run it from there back to full screen. So you can fly it through the sky, and I'll drop my logo back on there. So that's for you, Joe, because you've been such a great supporter of the channel and even sent me gear I'll be using in Studio B. So thank you. That's how you turn a JPEG into a PNG. So I'll just get a picture off the web from the sites. If they don't have any TIFF files or PNG files on a manufacturer site, I will turn their JPEGs into PNGs. And that only really works with simple stuff. It's harder when you get things with real backgrounds, but most of the JPEGs you're going to find online have a solid background because they're shooting them on a white background for commercial use for selling their wares. So, okay, so let's see. PC back on. I'm going to go back on the air of the chat. We're going to get out of here as quick as we can. I think I did it pretty fast. I stopped to teach, so that's more than 15 seconds, Joe, but there you go. Right now, it's going to be my Canon 5D Mark III main camera. Unless I decide to pull my EOS R out of here, I do use my EOS R with clients, so I can't decide yet. But my Canon 5D Mark III is my overhead camera. I will probably end up replacing that eventually and go with a camera out there in the garage. So I have 3 cameras, so it makes sense to take one of them out there when I'm streaming from there. So it may be in the Studio A all the time until I need to go for Tuesday Night Live, and then I'll just take it out. I'm gonna have a mobile C-stand that will have light on it. It'll have a softbox on it. It'll have a monitor on it. It'll have a stand for my ATEM Mini Pro. It'll have all of that mobile with the camera on it. So that's going to be a mobile C-stand on wheels so I can take it around. And there's lots of reasons for that. And I'll do a build when we build that. Cool. I'll give you a link to that later tonight, Freddie. What lens is on my camera right now? My camera lens right now is my 16-35 f4. Over here I have my 24-70 2.8, and up here right now I have my 24-105 kit lens. It's an f4. So I don't know why I ended up with my 35mm over here. It just happened. And normally I have my 24-70 right there, but that's as close as I can get to me right now. But when I lean in, I stay in frame, and that's kind of why I'm using it. And it's as wide as it'll go. I'm at 35mm right now. Yeah, I'm going to use the pod mic. It's a great microphone. I don't have a sample of it right now. It's $100. and I'll eventually probably get a SM7B for out there. I had some high-end microphones. I had a Neumann U87. I had a 414. I had Rode microphones, but I didn't want to use a condenser. These dynamic microphones like the SM7B, they cut out a lot of background sound. And because this room has not been treated, there's a lot of reflections in here. I do that just to cut down on that extra reach a condenser mic has. So the pod mic sounds pretty good. And eventually I'll replace it with the SM7B out there. Two camera angles right now in Studio B, one shooting from my desk straight back towards the new wall, and then the other camera angle shooting straight back from the wall to the green screen. So I could pull the green screen down and trick you guys and think I'm in this studio. So it'll be a lot of fun. And I can put stuff in the background as well. I'm gonna be able to shoot that way if I wanna do Ratso. I can put a scene behind Ratso for some other videos. When I do my builds with Dominic, we're gonna have his own background design back there. And so we'll be doing some green screen work. On that camera, I'm probably gonna get one of the new devices that Blackmagic Design just came out with that has the high-end green screen technology in it. That's one of the things that I'm gonna probably add to my studio once we get Studio B built, and I'll do some training on that device. It does a way better key than you could ever do with the ATEM control software. So keep that in mind as well. I've considered it. I might do SRT instead of the streaming bridge. So that jury's not out. I'll have a cable. So I could do either way. I have the streaming bridge already. I know how to use it. So again, you know more about SRT than I do, Tony. So maybe that's a conversation you and I could have in a Zoom just to help bring my head up to speed. What I like about it is my ATEM Mini Pro will stream directly to the streaming bridge, and that just makes it simple for me. It's already set up. So if I was to plug my, if I was to go out there and set up right now, I could stream into my live stream. I have my streaming bridge coming in here right now. It's powered up right now. It's one of the choices in my switches for channel 2. And that's on my ATEM Mini Pro. I brought that into the regular channel 3 when I was doing that stream from the garage before. And I even did a behind the scenes video here on my channel, how I stream to the bridge. So it's just something I'm familiar, but whatever works the best and is the easiest for me, that's probably the way I'm gonna end up going. So keep that in mind. So I also like it because I'm not having to use an HDMI out of the ATEM Mini Pro. I can stream directly through the software to the streaming bridge. That means that I'll be able to at least have, before I get started, I'll be able to use multi-view, and then I can have my monitor set for program or multi-view in there. Because remember, I can use that as a matrix because I'm not using that output of the ATEM Mini Pro as a signal. I'm only using whatever's on program coming through the stream to the streaming bridge. So I love the idea that I can use a multi-view monitor in the garage because I only have one HDMI out of that ATEM. Now that does mean when I change the multi-view, my confidence monitor changes to multi-view as well. And when I go live from the garage, I always switch it over to program so I can see myself full screen on the screen. And then if I have a guest in Studio B or I bring in a remote guest, I'll need to display my laptop on the screen, and I'll need to be able to bring on that channel full screen so I can see my guests. So a lot of little pieces to the equation. I hope that answers your question, but most of it's my ignorance and not knowing what the advantages and disadvantages would be of SRT, even though you've talked about it on your channel and have some great videos, both you and Joe and Jay. Are we hearing any noise in the background, guys? Let me know. I don't know what that folder is called. Let me hold my mouse over it right here. It says add vector mask. So it's a vector masking tool. And so if you don't have it on your Photoshop, you'll need to access that tool. And what it does is that once you've inverted that selection, then it will turn that background into transparent. If you do it the other way, the headphones would have been transparent and the background would have been opaque. So that's another way to cut out the background. So what I just did, you can use. So if you want to make a cover for Super Source, so there's Super Source. See the background I have right now, it's in the background layer. So let's drag this over here real quick. So this background right here is in the background layer, but if I go over here to Super Source and go to Art, I can change that to the foreground layer and it's going to cover everything now. It doesn't cover your comment because that key is over top of that layer, but that background is now behind me. Now it's in front of me. Why did I show that? I showed that because you can use that transparency feature. So you could take a black background or your normal background, draw a box on it that's a color, and then you could use that same tool to make the box transparent. So you could put the guest's name. I did that with my first interview with Adam Towle using Super Source. I was able to put his name and my name on a still image in the foreground. I cut out the background by using that tool, and I and Adam could be seen through. So I could make his Zoom box the right size, and I could make me the right size using Super Source. And we had a side-by-side interview by putting the art layer in the foreground in Super Source instead of the background. So you can see the power of that little technique in Photoshop and how it can transpire, not just making a PNG graphic, but it also can create a hole in a graphic, which is really cool. So I could peek through a logo by doing that and just have me peeking through an O in a logo if I wanted to. A lot of cool things you can do with that. A lot of cool things you can do with flying key. I will be doing more with flying keys in the future on my channel because I just think it's one of those things built into the software that we just don't use a lot. And I want to animate that using the macro tool and really show what you can do with those 3 locations that you can program. Full is always full size, but you have 2 locations, A and B, under your upstream keys that you can program in the ATEMs. And if you have ATEM Mini, ATEM Mini Pro, ATEM Mini Pro ISO, you only have 1 upstream key and 1 downstream key. Okay, well, I'll never get caught up at the pace I'm going. So let me just go through here. The photos that I'm grabbing, Tony, are from their sites. So what I do is I go to their product sites, like they'll have their newsroom or those graphics. And so if for some reason they haven't created a PNG file, a lot of them have TIFF files, which will have transparency. But a lot of the graphics that I find from some of the manufacturers, especially early release, they don't have any JPEGs, and so I have to create those, or PNGs, so I have to create those transparencies from them. So, and if I put someone's logo on the screen, I always have permission, or I'm promoting their product. So if I'm talking about a HyperDeck or I'm talking about something like that, then I'm using the stuff that they have on their site for the very thing that we're doing. And I've never had a flag or a strike or a complaint because I'm always promoting the product, even though these videos are not sponsored by them. I am teaching and training and helping other people understand if that product's right or not for them. So, okay. So, cool. You'll enjoy that video, Joe. Everyday Jay. I'm just learning about Zoom ISO. So the idea of being able to put a Decklink Duo Card. If you don't know what Decklink Duo Card is, Blackmagic Design also has cards that you can put in small little Thunderbolt containers and then bring that in through Thunderbolt into your Mac or your PC. And if you have a Thunderbolt port, and then you can then assign things like ProPresenter, Zoom ISO. There's a lot of things that you can then assign through that. And so it's very enticing because, again, that gives you more inputs. So you're still going to bring them into a switcher. So I would be coming out of a PC or a Mac if I ever got one with that port. I would still be coming out of that device into a switcher somewhere. So I haven't really leaned that way, though. Bringing in guests, I will have some solution in the future because I do want to collaborate, especially Freddie sent me a link to a new guy's channel. I'll put a link in the description tonight. And he's done some video. He has a channel for airplanes. He has a channel for audio, which Freddie sent me today. And he also has a channel, can't remember what it is. He has 3 YouTube channels, and he's got this new channel that's talking about microphones and things like that. And he's very knowledgeable. You can tell he's been around, got a great voice. And so I would like to bring someone like that on as a collaboration. Some of you on as a collaboration. I'd like to have 2 guests on at once, like Tony and I and Adam were in a collaboration on Adam's channel. So I would like to do more of that. I will definitely have an auto pull in the garage if I take over the garage on Shannon's side and lose the garage door. I won't probably throw the garage door away, but I will replace it with sheetrock and everything else outside footage. So I missed a question on stock footage. So let me go back here. Hey, just ask that question again for me, if you would. I'm not seeing it. I might add another NZXT computer. We'll see. My internet is not 2 cans and a string. I did have some kind of crash. Did I miss someone here that joined the stream? I got Freddie. You're welcome. What's the difference between Photoshop and Illustrator? Illustrator is more of a design application, like Corel Draw. WordPerfect is really a less capable version. Photoshop is really about layers and photographs and design more in the photograph world. Has some really crazy tools that you won't find in Adobe Illustrator. So there's some similarities and some crossover. I find exporting out of Photoshop is 1,000,000 times easier. You also have Lightroom that has a lot of things that you can do in Photoshop. So there is some crossover for sure inside Adobe's software. I am going to be preparing for my drone test. Hopefully I can take it in the spring, very early. Joel and I have been flying together. We went and flew a week ago on Sunday and it was like a weekday, and we had a blast, and can't show you the drone footage, but getting a little bit more acquainted. Love the DJI Mini 3 Pro. It's a great drone. Got a chance to show him. I bought him a set of filters for his drone, just as a thank you for helping me fix my son's car. Long story, but he got to see what a polarizing filter will do. So we were shooting just before sunset. So he was super excited. I got some good lens flares with my polarizing filter rather than the whole front of the video being washed out. I was able to get some really cool lens flares. So I bought him a set of ND filters. all the way down to we can hover and shoot a waterfall and get that beautiful milky background with video. So we're going to go do some of that eventually. I know where there's a cool little teeny waterfall at a funeral park here recently. I visited, and so if I get permission, they let me shoot, then I'll go in there and get a close up with my drone just to see what we can do with water with that. So I hope that answers your question. No, I don't use any stock footage. I shoot my own footage mainly, though I do have from Dope Motions a packet. That's what I made my stinger out of. So I guess I have some stock footage. Mainly, I got that package because of the things I can do with it for clients in After Effects. So anyway, I will bring that up in a future live stream. Remind me of that, Joe, and we'll add that. So the channel is Home Studio Pro, Freddie said. Thank you for that link, Freddie. And I'll put a link in the description. I subscribed today. You guys should go over and subscribe as well. And let him know that Keith Bennett from Life Journey Productions sent you. I told him today in a comment that Freddie sent me. So maybe, who knows, he'll join our little community. Funeral park, funeral home, funeral cemetery. So cemetery, basically, they have a beautiful waterfall there. I've shot photographs there before. I can also go to the site where my grandfather has been buried, and I have other extended family members in that cemetery. So a lot of times I'll go over there and during their birthdays or during holidays, and I will take my camera and take a couple shots because they have some beautiful displays there at that cemetery. So I hope that answers you. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm not sure why that's not displaying, but I'm sure I can fix that. So let me do some adjusting here in my upstream key 4. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on with, I haven't had a super chat in a while, but I'll read that off. For your hard work tonight, thanks for the great content. You are welcome. Thank you so much. Let's see if that key works. Yep, there goes the fireworks. Sorry, I'm not displaying this better. Something's hugely off with me streaming out of OBS, so I apologize for that, Tony, but there's the fireworks. I've had those for weeks now, but I haven't had a super chat in a while. So I will figure out what's going on. I apologize to those of you that are watching for not getting a better view of that super chat, and I appreciate it very much. The rules still apply. If there's people at the funeral home, you do have to still stay away from them and have a designated takeoff and landing zone, especially if I got permission. I'm sure they would say that I need to avoid people. A lot of privacy issues in a cemetery as well. That's why you'd want to go in off hours and shoot when there's not going to be any people in the cemetery. So thank you as well for that super chat, displaying perfectly fine on the screen. Thank you so much. And here's a little, where is it now? Man, I'm tired. Thank you very much, Joe, for that super chat. That means a lot. And I want to put some fireworks on the screen because that does help with the channel, and I appreciate it very much. And I will do my best to use that money to fix my shortcut. You rock. So, okay, guys, that's it. I'm out. I'm gonna roll that video with Kristopher first. So let me get things ready here and chat off the air. And Let's see. I believe that's in my HyperDeck 2. Sorry about that. So let's just see where that's at. Oh, there's days like this. Okay, I'm going to roll this video and then the outro. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Again, we're going to play this 6-minute outro and then the regular outro. Thank you for staying tuned. I will have the Skycam on a little bit later as the outro goes out, but it's been a great stream. It's been way longer than I wanted to go, but thank you so much for joining me. I hope you'll enjoy playing some of this back. If you're new tonight, thank you so much. Thank you guys for the super chats. That's so nice. I appreciate it very much. I wanted you to see this father-son project that we got to complete. I'm going to do another one of these with my second oldest son. You've seen some videos on the channel with Dominic. You've seen some videos on the channel with my son Nathan doing green screen work. So I just really like to do this with my grandkids and my grandsons, and then I do more dates with my granddaughters and my daughter just to go hang out, just father and daughter, father and granddaughter. But I hope you enjoy this quick video as we look back at this Batman Batcycle build. Until next time, 2 weeks from tonight. Remember, I won't be live next week, but I'll see you live 2 weeks from tonight. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the other side. And with that, let's roll this puppy.
Hey everyone, here's the final Batman project completed. Yeah, decided to leave the Batmobile or the Batbike and Batman not attached to it so I can move it around.
Cool. And show's lit up?